Anyways,
go ahead. Let us know about this Florida water.
All right, this is Xochipilli's Apothecarium and Botanica. That's the name of the business that I chose.
Nice.
Xochipilli being the Aztec god of ethnobotany.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, I chose that. I chose Xochipilli's dance. The name, specifically, I wear a ceremonial necklace that has a medallion on the end that has Xochipilli. Mm-hmm. And we were doing an ayahuasca ceremony in Fort Myers. And that night, I had done a pretty large second cup.
Mm-hmm.
I remember getting the cup, and it was like clear full. And looking at my buddy that was leading the ceremony that gave it to me, and I'm like, it looks like a lot of medicine.
Yeah.
And he goes, get ready to take off. You get ready. And then even to this day, he'll say, I didn't give you as much as you said I gave you. I'm like, yeah, you did. It took me 4 gulps. But anyways, I started having an anxiety attack.
Yeah, that can happen.
It was like, I reached for this nasty stuff that was Murray Enrandments Florida water they had in his altar. And he goes, use some of the Florida water and they put it on me. And I'm just like, oh, I felt like I was fumigated. My spirit was like, never do that again. And it just made it worse. I started purging and having all these everything. It just went, that Florida water made it go another direction.
Wow.
And then it was like all of a sudden my aunt comes to me and she's like, remember heart disease runs in your family.
Yeah.
Your dad had a heart attack and this and that. And, amongst everything else. And then, and I'm just like, anxiety. I look around and everybody in the circle is laying down like they got shrouds on. They all look like they're just like, in a temple. And even my buddy over here, well, was my buddy, who's leading the ceremony, I'm like, I'm having issues. My heart's going, and I was president of the Dahatihi, which is a Dene word that means hummingbird. Mm-hmm. And I was the president of our chapter of the church. So anyways, I'm there and I'm having issues with my heart and I'm having an anxiety attack. And he goes, get out the flicker fan. We have this fan with flicker feathers on it, and flickers is a healing, really intense healing we use in the TP. Well, he had his medicine box in it and he handed it to me. And as soon as I touched my heart with that flicker fan, this giant hummingbird, I became this giant hummingbird. And instantly, I'm like up, and I always wear multiple sarongs in ceremony, and all of a sudden one of them came up and became my wings, And then the necklace that I wore, the medallion, turned jade green and projected a 3-dimensional Xochipilli about 3.5, 4 feet.
Oh wow!
A little guy. He had this jade mask on. He had these tattoos. Well, I was seeing the sculpture. So it was like they were all carved peyote buttons and mushrooms and vines and flowers all over him. And he gets me to my feet. And then around him, you see butterflies, bees, and hummingbirds, right? Mm-hmm. So now they're around both of us. And every time he stepped we were in an inside ceremony. So every time he stepped on the ground or on the floor, a flower would appear.
Oh, wow.
And then I would step on the flower. And when I stepped on the flower, it would give a scent.
Oh,
right?
Incredible.
So I started doing it. Now that became Xochipilli's dance.
Okay.
And one of the things that I came to understand through this process is Xochipilli's dance, it's never exactly the same.
Yeah.
So I started making the spiritual cologne. I started making it in small batches.
Yeah.
So I have control of every aspect of it besides making the actual labels of the bottles.
Yeah.
I collect papayas that I grow myself, other fruits that we grow ourselves. I collect, we grow everything, that we can ferment, and then we'll outsource like strawberries when they're in season, and we ferment all of that to create the actual alcohol base.
Okay.
All right. Because I've got a couple copper alembic stills that I use to actually make the alcohol. So I make the alcohol base, and the reason I make the alcohol base is I come from a long line of moonshiners and distillers all the way back to Ireland and Scotland.
Yeah.
A lot of years doing a lot of family moonshine in the Appalachian Mountains from my family ancestry. But I went to Kentucky, went to different distilleries and stuff, and I come to the understanding that whoever stirs the pot sets the intention.
That's right.
And Anybody, all aspects of witchcraft and all of this, everybody needs, they all know this. Whoever's stirring the pot is setting the intention. If you're making tea, your intention is what the tea is that you're making. If you're making coffee, it's the intention. So it's the same concept. So I would see these big vats being made, and I'm thinking, wow, that's whatever energy they're putting in is what's going out.
Yeah.
So that's why I started making the base like that, and then we started, growing dream herb, and then all these other plants to pull the essences out of the flowers. I was collecting peyote flowers after they seeded, and I pulled them off the top of the pods. I added that to one mixture of alcohol just to make a tincture out of it, so I can add one drop of that to each bottle.
Yeah.
And then I was talking with my ayahuasca vine, and she actually flowered for me.
Nice.
And that's when I was like, oh, that's in essence just the energy of the ayahuasca flower in this, and then this being used in sacred ceremony.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's when that came to me, I'm like, okay, this is a one of a kind product.
Yeah.
It's got to be made in small batches.
Yeah,
and then it was during a time when my mom passed away. My mom would have loved this. My mom would have been right there to be like, that smells good, add this. And she's kind of always guided me through this process.
Yeah.
And she passed away the end of 2019, right? And then I launched this the next month on my birthday. So Xochipilli's dance, just being able to, make the tinctures out of the flowers, to pull the oils out of certain flowers. I got relatives up in Ohio that are growing lots of lavender for me.
Oh, nice.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
I got three different relatives that have farms that can actually grow things, because lavender doesn't grow so good down here.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I can get the orange flowers that we grow here, limes, the essence from our cinnamon tree. I make cinnamon leaf tinctures, just from the, and we have a not very large, it's large enough, but a rainbow eucalyptus.
Okay.
And not a rainbow eucalyptus, a citronella eucalyptus.
Okay.
So we have a lot of lemongrass that we can pull the lemon essences out of too. But yeah, so mixing it up, and then actually doing prayers. And I like to, ask people that are purchasing it from me, any extra prayers you want to put in it.
Oh, wow.
Because I do put different stones in these, and it's on the label. The tiger's eye and the labradorite and the garnet and the amethyst I put in. Not only does it help in agitation, keep the oils, mixed, because that's the way, you got to be able to mix it together. But those stones that also infuse, the energy that they have.
Absolutely.
When I make the alcohol comes out and goes over a bed of crystals. So it's like
incredible.
And then inside the actual belly of the still, I put crystal Buddhas and different things. And it's funny because I had this idea once of creating another a brew company and calling it the Laughing Buddha. Laughing Buddha Distillery, because inside my still, when it hits a certain temperature and I know it's going to start sending alcohol down the tube, I hear the Buddha start to spin. It's like it's starting to heat up, and then it's popping, and then the Buddha's dancing on the inside.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that keeps that agitated, so more alcohol come out. But yeah, so I like to sit there, pray with it, and burn cedar and burn Palo Santo while I'm doing it, because I know that energy is infusing. All the bottles that I purchased are all blessed off the same way.
Yeah.
And as you guys know, nobody enters my house without being cleansed off.
I'm acutely aware.
I got my broom, and I got my spray.
Yeah.
I tell you, this is what I believe kept us from getting sick during the whole debacle. With this virus.
Yeah.
Because there are 3 oils in this that if people read the label, they can research it. I'm not going to say it because I don't want to.
Yeah, you don't want that.
There's 3 oils on here that refer to something that used to be called 3 Thieves oil, but actually there's 4, I think.
Yeah.
But anyways, all those oils are in here.
Okay.
And that was a big thing back in the plague, was to use this oil so the sickness wouldn't come out.
Oh, okay.
So, I put, there's a few things that I add to this that aren't on the label, and I grow patchouli, and I put a couple drops of patchouli per ounce in here, but I also am doing colloidal silver.
Okay.
So, and my new one with Hecate's Garden, I'm debating whether that one's going to be adding colloidal silver to it or colloidal gold.
Okay.
Because I'm thinking that needs to come into to play, because I'll tell you, once we started using this in ceremony compared to the Murray Enrandments, it's like night and day, because I started researching Murray Enrandments, how they were doing, back 100 years ago, they were running advertisements. I found all the old advertisements.
Yeah.
And they used to say, made from the water from the fountain of youth that was found by Ponce de Leon, full of flowers, Florida water. And that's literally the billboard.
Yeah.
That's the ad, right? So I'm looking at this, and then I saw how in the early 1900s, and then coming into where we're at now, they had to remove all the different healings that they used to say it used to give.
Yeah.
Because when this company, Murray Enrandments, created that Florida water that we've seen everywhere, Walmart's everywhere across the country in that cheap little plastic bottle, that Florida water is no different than most chemical floor cleaners. The alcohol is SD25, which comes from, it's like rubbing alcohol.
Yeah.
And all the scents are synthetic perfumes. Because when that company created the Florida water, it was to, Murray and Lamon were from New York, it was to compete against the perfume industry in Europe.
Oh, okay.
So they created this Florida water and this story of these healing waters in Florida that were bubbling streams of flowers that Ponce de Leon found.
Oh, wow.
So that's a whole story. And then you start seeing it in every ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, ooh, that's, and I've seen videos of people dumping the Murray Enrandments in their brew that they're making because they saw somebody else do it. I've seen it on YouTube. And I'm thinking, wow, that would make somebody sick.
Absolutely, yeah.
That would make, but it's so that's why I created this was because I saw it being used, but it was like the product was being used and it's not what people think it is.
Yeah. And what feedback have you gotten so far from all the, because you have a lot of facilitators that
well, I started using it ourselves in our ceremonies, and then I'm like, you know what, I can make little small batches. This is kind of fun, and like I said, my mom had passed away and I had taken some time off from ceremony, and I kind of wanted to go through the grieving process and really get to know what I'm doing with this too. And like I said, her spirit's been helping me. So we have, when we started doing this with this Florida water, and the reason to bring it in was to offer a product that will do what we want it to do.
That's right.
Because, I see that Murray Enrandments being sold in every metaphysical shop across the country, and it's not healthy. And I've seen native elders putting it in their mouth and spraying it when it should not be anywhere near, putting it in your mouth because it's toxic.
That's right.
And it's like, even the research that I did in this company, 2 or 3 of the ingredients in their Florida water, California won't even, it's like against the California standard, wherever that is.
There's no regulation
because they're carcinogenic.
Yeah.
So why would we want to use something in ceremony that's, so anyways, that's why I started this. And then I'm like, I wanted to get into as many ceremonies as possible.
That's right.
And without physically being in ceremony.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'll create a product, I'll pray over it and add good energy to it so it's used in a good healing way to protect people from these entities that can attach to people in these ceremonies. Because we know when we go into these different realms, if we're not protected, we can pick up hitchhikers.
That's right.
And I've seen a lot of people, and heard of a lot of people that, seeing what they're doing with these ceremonies and the ego that's involved. And I'm like, wow, you're opening up something that, you're getting a superficial reward from money from, but at the same time, you're opening up a portal that you're not able to protect.
And spill over into the people that you've invited into the circle.
Yeah, and we call them hitchhikers. And I do believe that hitchhikers can come through.
Oh yeah, I absolutely do too.
So what I like to do is I like to pray over each of these bottles that go out, especially to the facilitators that are leading ceremony. And then it just came to me, offer them wholesale discounts in bulk so that they can supply. So they can always have a good supply, but so they can also supply the people that are participating in ceremony that want to take it home and use it ceremonially.
Protect their house.
And so this is true Florida water. In the essence that, how we view Florida water and being able to put, like Bobansana flowers in it and ayahuasca flowers. My friends that are down in the jungle, they're around the ayahuasca all the time, even tell me that it's rare to ever see it flower in the jungle.
Yeah.
So this the fact that I got it to flower here, but I'll tell you the reason, like again, private propagation, you can take care of the plants better.
Yeah.
Instead of just going out and finding them in the wild. Because I was able to put cow manure around the plant. I was able to put, this and that. I was able to put some ashes from my mom and some ashes, or then burying my dog when my dog died by the vine, the whole thing.
And I think with, first time I came here, you had this pot turned upside down towards the base of the ayahuasca tree, and you actually put dead rodents and stuff that died at your cat straw, and it actually feeds on them as well.
Usually, I mean, they catch a squirrel, they pretty much will finish it off, except a few parts. But lizards, snakes, things like that they would get a hold of, birds. Whatever I couldn't use feather-wise with the birds, I would put the carcass on top of that, the bottom of the saucer, and then I would put it on inside there by the ayahuasca, turn the flower pot upside down and put a stick in it.
Yeah.
And that allows ants to come in and do their thing. But then the ayahuasca vines started crawling over the bottom of the saucer and actually eating, taking the bones and stuff.
Yeah, it's a master plant in every sense of the word.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and, I mean, the ayahuasca in my yard, I mean, it touches all the plants, all the other medicinal plants.
And everybody who walks through the front door.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I like it sitting, or I like it growing and sending over, trying to reach the other side of the yard, but everybody that walks through has to touch it.
That's right.
The same way, it's like she's just touching everybody.
Yeah, I can feel her presence when I come into the front yard. Absolutely.
I mean, I really, I feel so blessed, like, to have all these sacred plants, but like with her, being able to have my apothecarium, my studio, and my bedroom, and half of my living room, right outside the living room window.
Yeah.
Having these plants, and even in the backyard, I have them in different spots, so I'm always around them. But just the fact that I'm able to sleep under its canopy every night is a blessing.
Yeah.
That's why when I started the tincture that I make from the same Xochipilli, the tincture that I make, I started taking it at nighttime, and getting in a really super deep REM sleep, waking up refreshed, and that medicine started telling me people need to start, microdosing with the tincture leading up to ceremony, like in their dieta, and then afterwards for integration. So I started making it, and I'm realizing, that with that tincture, how many it's people that are selling different tinctures and stuff, and I'm just trying to keep it at a much lower rate so people can afford it.
Yeah.
And getting that out too. But yeah, the Florida water, anybody that's interested,
Yeah, we'll definitely drop links and everything and let people be able to get a hold of you. I know you probably like to personally know everybody too.
I've just, it's really interesting because we have all these different social media platforms and websites and all that, but I've only been using Facebook because I make small batches.
Yeah.
So, I have some of the small batches are each individual order.
Yeah.
Because some people are buying 30 bottles at a time.
Yeah.
You buy 30 bottles at a time, you're getting that small batch.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So yeah, and it's always coming out fresh. I mean, I haven't I did have one person that said they used it and it smelled like their grandma. They had a bad experience because they smelled like their grandma.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, you have grandma issues in your
ayahuasca ceremony to what yeah.
I guess the jasmine cake. Because that's the thing with this Florida one is it's got different levels.
Yep.
And throughout you'd be sprayed with it. If you first get the orange or whatever is coming first, and then you get the other levels, and then at the end it finishes with a slight like patchouli, jasmine, and then finishes with the leaf of the. I use clove too, clove and cinnamon. Okay. So the cinnamon leaf it finishes off with that, and that's got a nice little sip with it. But yeah.
Well, I appreciate it. And man, we will drop links and that way people can get a hold of you and get some. Thank y'all. Yeah.